My sister had a spare key to my apartment for 3 years. Then one Saturday afternoon, I came home early and found a mug drying beside my sink, my television still warm, and her perfume hanging in the air. I lived alone. 4 days later, I watched her unlock my front door on a security camera. My name is Jenna. I'm 32, and when my sister Lauren moved to my city after her divorce, I was the only person she had nearby. Her marriage had ended in the worst possible way. While she was at work, her husband changed the locks on their house and left her clothes and belongings in cardboard boxes on the porch. She called me from her car, crying so hard that I could barely understand her. Lauren stayed on my couch for several weeks while she found a job and rented an apartment of her own. When she finally moved out, I gave her a spare key to my place. For emergencies, I told her, if I'm traveling or if I ever lock myself out. She attached it to her key ring immediately. After what her husband had done, I understood why having that key might make her feel safe. It proved there was still one door she could open without worrying that someone had locked her out. For almost 3 years, I never questioned it. Then things inside my apartment started changing. At first, the differences were small. A candle I kept beside the television appeared on another shelf. The blanket on my couch was folded into a perfect square, even though I always left it over the armrest. My thermostat was sometimes set several degrees warmer than I kept it. I told myself I was imagining things. Then I left town for a weekend conference. I was supposed to return Sunday evening, but the final session was canceled, so I came home Saturday afternoon without telling anyone. The moment I opened the door, I smelled Lauren's perfume. There was a mug drying beside my sink. The television was off, but the back of it was still warm. On my coffee table was an old photograph of Lauren and me as children. That photograph normally sat on a shelf inside my bedroom. Someone had not only entered my apartment, they had walked through my bedroom and moved something personal. I called Lauren and casually asked what she was doing. She said she had been home all afternoon. I didn't accuse her. I almost called a locksmith and changed the locks without warning, but something stopped me. If Lauren was entering my home secretly, I wanted to understand what she was doing before I ended her access completely. So I installed a small camera facing the entryway and part of the living room. It wasn't disguised, but it was high enough that someone probably wouldn't notice it unless they were looking for it. 4 days later, I received a motion notification while I was at work. I opened the live feed. Lauren walked into my apartment. She closed and locked the door behind her, removed her shoes, and placed her handbag beside the couch. She moved around my home with complete confidence. She went into the kitchen, made tea in my favorite mug, and adjusted the thermostat. Then she wrapped herself in my blanket and sat in front of the television. It didn't look like an emergency. It looked like a routine. I checked the time. It was just after 1 in the afternoon, and Lauren had told me she was working that day. For nearly 20 minutes, she watched television as though she lived there. Then she switched it off. She picked up the childhood photograph from the coffee table and stared at it. A few seconds later, she began crying. She wasn't pretending. She wasn't making a phone call or trying to get anyone's attention. She sat alone on my couch, holding that photograph against her chest and crying in the one place where she apparently felt safe enough to fall apart. I stopped watching. If you were in my position, would you have changed the locks immediately or called her first? Tell me in the comments and subscribe for a new story every day. Lauren stayed inside my apartment for almost 2 hours. Before leaving, she washed her mug, folded the blanket, and returned the photograph to my bedroom. She tried to erase every sign that she had been there. That evening, I called her. I didn't shout. I simply asked, "How often do you come to my apartment when I'm not home?" The silence lasted so long that I thought the call had disconnected. Finally, she whispered, "How did you find out?" I told her about the perfume, the warm television, the moved photograph, and the camera. She didn't become angry about the recording. She just said, "I'm sorry." Then she admitted the truth. Some weeks she came over 3 or 4 times. She had been doing it for months. Her own apartment, she explained, had become unbearable after the divorce. It was quiet, half unpacked, and filled with furniture she had bought for a life she no longer had. "My apartment doesn't feel like a home," she said. "It feels like somewhere I'm waiting." My place was different. It was where she had slept after her husband locked her out. It contained family photographs, familiar furniture, and memories from before her marriage ended. "When I'm there," she said, "I don't feel like I lost everything." I asked why she hadn't simply called me. Lauren said the first time she used the key, she had only intended to collect a jacket she had left behind. Then she sat on the couch for a few minutes. The next time, she made tea. After that, secretly entering my apartment became easier than admitting she was lonely. "I kept telling myself I would explain," she said. "But every time I came over without asking, it became harder to tell you." I understood why she had done it. But understanding did not make it acceptable. "It's still my home," I told her. "I'm not angry because you needed somewhere safe. I'm hurt because you were sitting inside my apartment, surrounded by pictures of us, while convincing yourself you couldn't call me." Lauren started crying again. We talked for almost 2 hours. I expected the conversation to end with me asking for the key back. Instead, I gave her one new rule. She could come over whenever she needed to, but she had to text me first. Not because she needed formal permission every time. Because I wanted the chance to be there with her. I didn't want to keep discovering that my sister had visited through moved candles, folded blankets, and the smell of perfume after she was already gone. Lauren agreed immediately. The following Tuesday, she sent me a message. "Can I come over tonight?" I replied, "Of course, I'll order dinner." That became our routine. Now she visits most Tuesdays. Sometimes she stays for dinner. Sometimes we watch television. Sometimes she just sits quietly under the same blanket she used when she thought she had to sneak inside. The difference is that I'm sitting beside her now. Lauren still has my spare key. The camera is still there too. She knows about it, and neither of us has asked to remove it. Trust returning does not mean every boundary has to disappear. What Lauren did was wrong, even if the reason behind it mattered. I could have quietly changed the locks and possibly lost my sister over a key. Instead, I discovered how lonely she had been, hiding in plain sight inside my apartment, because entering without permission felt easier than asking me for help. Do you think I handled it correctly, or should I have taken the key back? Tell me what you would have done, and subscribe for a new story every day.